can't take it seriously. What the fuck is going on? My hair is doing a madness. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome back to another vlog. This is going to be a bit of a reading vlog, as I promised in my last video, because we are, after all, and they read. And I've actually had way more time to read, and will have way more time to read this coming week, because it's been a busy few weeks, and I'm staying at my mum and dad's, and all I have to do is read. So I'm just sat up in bed, and I'm about to finish Yellowface. I have like maybe 10 pages left, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really intrigued to see how it's going to end, but I feel like the main climax of the story is done. I have quite a lot of thoughts actually. I'm not going to go into huge depth because there's like already a wealth of opinions about it on the internet, which no, I'm vlogging, but that's okay. You can talk. Yeah, I want to properly like write down what I think about it and talk about it, but I've not really been looking at reviews just because I haven't read it yet. I know there's been like differing opinions about it. Some people think it's incredible, some people think it's meh. I feel like that's always the case with books that go viral. So I'm about to finish that. I think I'll finish it this morning. And then I've got a few books with me, and also a few books that I bought for my birthday, because I actually didn't get that many books for my birthday, which is absolutely fine. They're probably quite scared of buying me books these days because you just don't, like, chances are I probably have it or I've probably read it. I just don't know what to do with this hair. Basically, this front bit, yeah, here, I didn't used to have it. This one particular bit here, which doesn't know where it wants to go, this has grown since I've been doing like oiling my scalp, because see, without this is how my hair normally is. It's like cowlicks and it's fine, but this bit has grown and it's new hair, and basically it doesn't know which direction it wants to go in because it's not been trained yet by the others, because I used to only just have like really wispy baby hairs here. Anyway, busy. So I'm just sitting down to talk about Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang. Hopefully you've got a cuppa. I have mine. Yeah, let's get into it. I'll very briefly explain the premise of Yellowface. Like, I'm assuming a lot of you have read it, but maybe haven't. So basically, I will read the blurb. This is one hell of a story. It's just not hers to tell. Athena Liu is a literary darling, and June Hayward is literally nobody. When Athena dies in a freak accident, June steals her unpublished manuscript and publishes it as her own under the ambiguous name Juniper Song. But as evidence threatens June's stolen success, she discovers exactly how far she'll go to keep what she thinks she deserves. What happens next is entirely everyone else's fault. Just to preface as well, I've not ever read any of Rebecca F. Kuang's work before. This was my introduction to her as an author. I do have Babel on my shelf, and I haven't read The Poppy Wars, but I am a big fantasy lover, so that is definitely on my list to pick up. This felt primarily like a work of satire, a work of dark parody type humour, dystopian satire type vibe, which I do think is important to kind of keep in mind before you go into this book, because the story itself, I don't think it's super believable or realistic or like convincing. I don't think that is the point. For me personally, it didn't feel like it was the point, and so the point is kind of using that plot as almost like a vehicle to expose racism and sexism and general oppression, particularly in the publishing industry. So the plot itself is good and is largely carried by the writing, because I will say that Kuang's writing is really good. It's really gripping, easy to read, but explores fairly complex concepts at points. I really enjoyed her writing. The book is very pacey. It's very interesting to read as somebody who is part of the kind of online book community, because it talks a lot about the role that kind of book reviewers and book bloggers play in the rise and fall of an author, particularly kind of in relation to cancel culture and that kind of thing. It's quite fun fun and sad and uncomfortable to see kind of recognisable parts of the book / publishing industry reflected back at you. Yeah, it definitely felt more like a dystopian horror, in the sense that certain parts of the book or of the plot or of certain characters feel exaggerated and extra dramatic. However, because it's balanced with so much of what we know to be true about the publishing industry, like even though some aspects feel very dramatic and almost exaggerated, other aspects feel so close to the truth and reflective of the truth that it's just like it holds that balance quite well, which I really enjoyed. June's character, so the main character, the narrator, is obviously like wildly unlikable. Some of that is sprinkled in at the start. Like she starts off as somebody who you don't really like because of the way she talks about other people, and so there is just enough about her that feels relatable to the start in terms of her jealousy and her resentment, because we have all experienced what it feels like to look at somebody else and be like, damn it, I wish I had what they had. Like, we've all experienced that by the time she starts to unravel, her downfall is very satisfying, but at the same time very uncomfortable to read, because there is part of her that feels human, and it's just uncomfortable. But I think that's part of what she does so well, the author does so well. Yeah, I did learn quite a lot from this book about sort of the inside workings of the publishing industry, which I think a lot of people see that as a world which is quite gate-kept and secretive. I do think that you could read it knowing zero about the publishing industry and you would be fine, because that first person kind of talking to the reader style narrative does help with explaining things. Everything is quite well explained and quite straightforward to follow. There's no like, I didn't have to do any googling. I did have to ask Hannah, but I didn't have to. That was kind of me wanting to know more about certain aspects of what was mentioned. The big twist at the end, no spoilers, it didn't make me feel anything really. The big twist, I feel like that, if anything, was probably the weakest part of the book, because by that point I was just like, nah, this is getting silly now. This is getting silly. But it felt more like a kind of literary mechanism to further the development of the kind of expose satire type elements of the book. So I think to kind of give Kuang an opportunity to develop that more, it needed to all kind of come to a big climax at the end to kind of drive the main character further into her sort of pathological delusion. Yeah, it felt like it was there to do that rather than be a big plot point that needed to be very realistic or like shocking. I do think I'm fairly easy to please when it comes to a book. It takes quite a lot for me to be like really disappointed, because I just feel like I'm quite relaxed about my expectations of what a book is supposed to offer me. I just kind of see it for what it is in a way. So I didn't need this to be a masterpiece, so I don't feel disappointed that it wasn't, and I don't feel like that takes away from my enjoyment of the book. It wasn't a 5-star read for me, but I really enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend it to other people. I think it's accessible enough to those who know nothing about the publishing industry, but it is also well written enough, pacey enough for those who won't be surprised by some of the stuff explored in here about racism in the publishing industry and in marketing and in PR and all of that kind of stuff. I know it's difficult because the internet has made it seem like a literary sensation to go into this with like super high expectations. I would just read it at face value. That is Yellowface. I have a few books to show you guys that I've bought recently or received recently. Yellowface and romantic comedy were bought for me by Hannah. I sometimes ask her to buy me like export paperback copies of certain books from the Netherlands if they're not out in paperback here yet, because I have a lot of hardbacks which I kind of regret buying because they're just so big and bulky, and I wish I'd waited for the paperback, but then with ones like this I really want to read them ASAP. So she bought me 2 lovely beautiful export copies, one of Yellowface, which we just discussed, and the other one romantic comedy, which I started yesterday. I'm 67 pages in and I'm really enjoying it. I think the main thing to note that I've heard from both Hannah and my friend Amelia, who's also on Bookstagram at Mealy's Reads, is that it is very much one to take at face value. I absolutely love Curtis Sittenfeld's like political satire reimaginings. I know not everyone thinks that they're amazing, but I really enjoyed my reading experience of both, and I was really excited to see that she's written another book. It is like a romance. There's not a huge amount else to it, but I'm not that far in, so we'll see how we go. I just know that Curtis Sittenfeld is so talented, like she's such a talented writer, and so I'm expecting to really enjoy this one just because it will be well written, and I love romances. As long as they're well written, I can like read romances till the cows come home, you know. I did remember when I was talking to Amelia about this book that the parts in Rodham and American Wife where like that are more romancy kind of parts where like the main characters meet and they fall in love and like all of that whole bit, she writes that so well, and I really remember getting that like butterfly feeling when reading those bits of that book. So I know that she can write romance, so I'm excited to read this. I'm enjoying it so far. We'll let you know how I get on. Then I've bought a couple books for myself recently. Actually no, Hannah picked this up for me in a bookshop in Crystal Palace. It's Fight Night by Miriam, which I think is her most recent paperback release. Sounds great, so I'm excited to read that. And then I bought myself a couple of books. I treated myself to the new paperback edition of Milk Teeth by Jessica Andrews. I have actually read this, but it is one of my favourite reads of this year. I think I preferred it to Saltwater actually, and I just love the cover because it's set in Barcelona. It's gorgeous, so I treated myself to a paperback of that because I don't actually own it, even though I've read it. I think I got it from the library. Then I got myself this book by Dominique Barbéris. I think, is it translated from French? Yes it is. Oh my god, I could read this for Women in Translation Month. I don't know how exactly you pronounce that, but oh my god, I didn't realize it was translated. That is really exciting. That sounds great. And then another one which I've got for Women in Translation Month, although I really want to pick these both up now, they just both sound so good, is Moldy Strawberries by Fernando Abreu. Moldy Strawberries, stories by Fernando Abreu, translated from the Portuguese by Bruna Dantas Lobato, and it's an Archipelago Books edition, which is, I love these editions, they're just so satisfying and beautiful and tiny. So I really like the sound of it, and it's short stories, so I'm going to save this again for Women in Translation Month. Oh yeah, I got another couple of books from Molly. She bought me In the Garden and another one which I can't remember because I don't have it in front of me. I think that is the second one is another translated book, so I think that will be added to the list. But yeah. Hello. Mess. I have just driven myself to therapy. I'm really proud of myself because I've never really driven this car before. It's my mum and dad's car. It's an automatic, and I'm like a die-hard manual girly, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit scared. Literally who has ever been afraid of driving an automatic car? But sure. I've pulled up and I'm just waiting because I'm a little bit early. This is my therapist who I've been seeing like regularly for coming up to 4 years now. It's about this time 4 years ago that I started seeing her. So, and I've not seen her in person since before COVID, because we moved to London and then we started doing remote sessions like even before COVID hit. Our sessions aligned for when I was here up in the north, so I thought, why not come for an IRL session? I'm really looking forward to seeing her in person. I have really randomly started my period, which I'm not supposed to get my period. Like, I'm not. I am on so many different types of medication to not have a period, and it started and I'm not really sure what to do about it. I just feel like I can't even tell how much I'm bleeding, but my womb is like in agony. So yeah, that's where we're at. I can't believe I didn't crash my car. My mum was like stood at the door like waiting for me to leave. I think she was really nervous about me driving this car, because it is different. Driving a manual is different to driving an automatic, obviously, but once I've clocked that my left foot shouldn't be doing anything, obviously your left foot is the clutch foot, and so yesterday I got in a little bit of a panic because my left foot was on the brake and my right foot was on the accelerator, and so I my left foot felt like it was supposed to do something because it was on a pedal, but obviously you're not supposed to press the accelerator and the brake at the same time. Now I've realised that my left foot shouldn't be doing a single thing. My left foot can be chilling, my left foot can be relaxed. It's off duty, do you know what I mean? Once I figured that out, I feel a lot more confident. Before I left, my mum was stood at the door like clearly quite nervy, and I did have to say to her, like, you know, I have a driving license. I've had my driving license. Even though on the inside I was also really nervous, but I was like, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. Fake it till you make it. And I made it. Okay, I'm gonna go now. See you on the other side. That's fine, that's fine. Okay, so first from this wave of nostalgia one, I got 4 books. Crooked Plow. I'm going to read this for Women in Translation Month in August, and it's set in Brazil. It's a Brazilian author. Then I got this by Elif Shafak, and I hadn't seen this book by her before, but it looks really good. Have you seen this book by her? Have you got this? Have you got it?
I haven't got it.
Have you read it?
No, but I've heard of it.
Do you like the? It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, nice.
Then I got this for Lucy because it's really good and I thought you'd like it. And then I got this as well for oh my god, it's translated by Anne Goldstein. She translates all of Elena Ferrante's books.
So is it Italian?
It's Italian, yeah. And I think it's like a rediscovered, like was published a while back in Italy and then has just been translated into English. And then in the second-hand bookshop I got these two. This person wrote the Unbearable Lightness of Being, and I've not heard of this. So it's the first novel. I've not heard of this before. And then this just looked quite good, and it was cheap, and I like the covering. That's my haul.
And you know, Mum loves a pattern.
Oh yeah, summer books. Maybe you'll like that. Oh my god.
This world is determined to stamp it out. You will see it when you stand up for yourself and you are told it isn't ladylike to raise your voice. You will hear it when you wear something that hugs your body and feel the uncomfortable sensation. Remember, always, the only people who can save us are each other. The only people who can love us are ourselves.
They're wrenching and profound and wise, and you will fall in absolute love with the characters. So yeah, do pick up a copy and get them signed by these incredible.
Hello. I, as you can see, I'm back home on my little blue sofa. I got back a few days ago, but have been sort of re-assimilating back into life at home. I had a really bad day yesterday, the first like Monday back. I just, yeah, really was very overwhelmed, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like I could get on top of anything. Work was really stressful, the flat was a mess, and had really bad anxiety. My anxiety's been so bad recently. I just feel really like just on edge all the time. But actually before that, you will have seen maybe a couple of clips from me and my mum at the Bradford Literature Festival. We spent basically all day Saturday going to different events, and it was really fun. I've been before, I've actually volunteered there before. So I volunteered in one of the green rooms, which was pretty interesting actually. This is my first time attending properly, like buying tickets, going to specific events, and it was really fun. I went to a Women in Mythology one with Jennifer Saint and Nikita Gill and Sarah Clegg, which was really interesting. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it was just a very like really passionate conversation between people who are serious like experts in their field and really know what they're talking about and feel really strongly about the stories that we should be telling and the role of like marginalized genders in those stories. And it was just really galvanizing. I really like felt very inspired by it, and I also really enjoyed going with my mum because she is just so ballsy and confident. I think it's the Dutch. She's just like, I want to be on the front row. Like, why would I not want to be on the front row? So she'll just like get there early, go straight up to the front, and like just be fine with sitting under the author's noses, which I'm just not confident enough to do that. I feel like it's the experience that I want, because I felt like they were talking to me and I got to see all of their expressions and like just really observe them as people. I loved being on the front row, but I would never ever do that if I was by myself. That was great going with my mum. I just feel like I got a way better experience. So I ended up for both events that I went to, the Women in Mythology one and then the one with Caleb Azuma Nelson and Jessica George, I was at the front during the conversation, and then I was also first in line for the book signing. I was literally in the queue. I was at the queue. I was the queue. Like, I was there before there was a queue. I started the queue and I was there before there was an author. I was just really keen. This is why it's so good going with my mum, because she just doesn't really care what anyone thinks, and she's like, my priority is making sure that we have evidence of what's happened here. Yeah, she just loves it. So she was like, right, give me your jacket, go up and then stand here, and where shall I stand to get a good photo? So like she got some really good pics of me chatting to authors, and it was fantastic. Like, everyone I met was so lovely. I just don't really do that kind of thing, but yeah, so it was quite cool meeting them because I felt a bit starstruck, but then also I felt quite like I could relate to them and like the things that they were passionate about, things that they were talking about. But my highlight was obviously meeting Caleb Azuma Nelson, because I'm such a fan of him. His writing is just like nothing else, and it's so, I mean, I don't know, I feel like I'm preaching to the converted here. If you love me, then you love him. It was lovely, and I told him that I'm from South London, and then we were chatting and he wrote a beautiful dedication in my book, and it was just really nice. It was just really nice. A really fantastic day, and I bought so many books, guys. Oh my god, I bought so many books. Like, even more books than what I've already shown you in this video. So I'm actually going to save that haul for the next vlog, because why not like string it out a bit, you know? But basically, yeah, I actually have absolutely no idea what has even been in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and also thank you so much to everybody who asked me a question for my Q&A and everyone who's watched it. I know that long videos are not for everybody, so I feel completely fine about you not wanting to watch it if it's not your vibe. But I did want to ask, actually, if you've gotten to this point in the vlog and you're still here, whether people like sit down videos and whether people want them. To be honest, it's not the kind of content that I sort of gravitate towards. I definitely prefer like vlogging stuff that is a bit more dynamic, rather than one person sat in one place chatting for the whole time. That's why it feels kind of unnatural for me to like long sit down videos, because I'm like, I wouldn't watch this, why would you? But apparently there are people who watch them. Would people like sit down videos, like reading monthly wrap-ups, or like sort of more chatty sit down book videos, that kind of thing? Or if not, then that's fine. Just let me know, because I'm kind of getting into the swing of this now, and I feel like I can start planning things a little bit more. Let me know what kind of thing you would like to see and what kind of content you look forward to watching. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're resting, staying soft, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.